So among the various Web 2.0 tools that we have checked out, we finally, we have gone into version 2 as well. We have finally decided on using Google Plus and GReader to constitute the original personal learning environment. Now, GReader, for those of you who realize, is a what? It's an RSS reader, because articles are coming in, right? If you haven't got a GReader, then we just have a bulletin board where everyone is waiting for the first discussion to be posted, and everyone's waiting, should I respond, whether this will be a stupid question or things like that. And also with, I like using Google Circle because it allows me to set up different circles, right? So I can set up a circle for one subject, or I can set up a circle for a different subject for a different year. I can also set up a circle for my graduate, right? And I can mix and match different circles to share same or different types of information. So if you are to set up the PLE, you also have to color a set of feeds. I've used this for general subjects, but obviously in your area of expertise, you will have to look for far more specific feeds and quality feeds to start with. So the way it works is like this. We have many information coming in, a lot of information coming into the PLE, which is, as I said, a semi-automatic bulletin board. Right? The first source of information, and I just said it, that was from the RSS. Right? So depending on the feeds that you have picked, the RSS may come in with, 50, 100, 200 articles. But fear not, because we have a good network of trusted community members. Right? So as a teacher, I may read about 5 or 10 of those, and then tag them and put it in the PLE. And the students, especially some of those students with experience, they may read some, and they may add a few others as well. So together, isn't that there is already an effect of combating information overload, rather than any particular individual needing to read all the 200 articles, right? So the second source of information is quite ordinary, just like anything that you can start with a discussion. You can create a discussion thread, you can put a link in there, just start from scratch, all right? The third one, now, anybody knows about the great internet repositories? Internet repositories. Well, on the internet, where's the place where you put, or you can find a lot of videos? YouTube, okay. Where's the place you can find a lot of PowerPoints? SlideShare. There's another one called Overstream, right? And then the list goes on. Where's the place where you can find a lot of reports, white papers, company statements, product information, and so forth? In most cases, they are copyrighted information, but in most cases, these are also things that are released into the public domain. So there are a few others like this. And on all those, we have set up alerts on the topics that we have caliber similar to the RSS feeds. So when such information comes in, members can look at it. If it is deemed to be of good relevance to what we are talking about, we can put it in the PLE. And then the fourth one, remember we talked about Google Circle? So I would have a circle and then having feeds and discussion with my graduates, and they may come up with a topic or some conclusion, which I believe, hey, this is of good value to be diverted and shared with some other groups who are not graduates, right? So I can, just like in Twitter, I can retrieve what I've received or what I've been doing in one group with another group, right? So that's the fourth way of contribution. And of course, we also have to be mindful of the fact that we have to constantly recalibrate these feeds. Because what you start off with, initially you believe this is a set of quality feeds, the quality may reduce, may be compromised, and maybe there are other feeds that are equally, if not better quality later on. So there comes a time where routinely you have to check whether the set of quality feeds continue to be justified, okay? And I'll talk about this later because, when I'm talking about this, there's a smart student at one stage who put up his hand and said, Professor, initially we didn't have anything. Now you cook up this thing, then we create even more information overload for us, okay? So I'll deal with that later. All right, so what I can do with this is, with the PLE, as I said, I can catch up with a lecture. I can reinstate something and reinforce a particular concept using some practical information, either a link, a picture, or a web page. I can catch up with a lecture. I can link a graduate in, a graduate who has finished this subject 2 or 3 years ago. For example, case in point, I was teaching business process management, and this is to undergraduate class, final year undergraduate, still very green because they don't have working experience. And I kept telling them that if you do well and work hard in this particular subject, and with more experience, you can grow a career out of it as business process consultant, and it's true. But obviously they don't understand, and they don't believe, and they are not convinced So I brought in a graduate who did this subject about 3 years ago, and now he's a business process architect. And he offers very good advice and guidance, and the students are very, very much motivated and inspired because they heard from their senior about 3 years ago who did the same subject, right? Much, much better than hearing from the lecturer or the professor who tell them because they suspect that obviously that's a trick to get them study hard and things like that. And one of the good things, one of the additional things which otherwise I cannot do on the lower one is I can actually bang together students from different subjects, right? Different subjects, but along the same topics, right? Similar to the wiki, right? This time, but using the PLE. So, for example, I'm teaching final year undergraduate students on KM, all right? Introduction to KM. And I also have a master class talking about advanced KM tools, all right? I can, if I deem appropriate, merge the two PLE together. And then over the months, I can observe whether the senior students, in your case, the senior staff, actually have a drag, have a kind of a knowledge fertilization effect. Because the more senior people here, they may share something which is more quality and more valuable, and that may inspire the junior ones to follow and to learn more, right? So they give me such an environment, which otherwise, in a face-to-face lecturing situation, this is impossible because there is logistic concern and there's also, enrollment concern. Well, what do you mean by mixing two classes, right? And running over a semester. I've got a lot of value out of it, which I don't have time to go through all of those. But I thought, this is very encouraging statistics. I run it over a few semesters and consistently. The students have told me that in the official feedback and survey, they said that they have learned through the PLE a lot more about the subject. They have learned, in some cases, more than what the subject syllabus originally defines, right? And more, I thought the litmus test is this one, When a semester is over, I ask the student whether you still wish to remain in the PLE, and I have a convincing 95% of them still remain there, right? As I last checked, many students are still continuing with the discussion. I'm still blogging, I'm still sharing the RSS feed for subjects that I was teaching 2 semesters ago. Is still thriving in there, and students are still discussing. So there's early indication that this may survive or evolve to be some kind of a lifelong learning or a continuous learning tool, much, much beyond the passing of a semester. So we're quite excited about that. All right. I won't expect you to know, but in Hong Kong and in Singapore and Malaysia, for the youngsters, you're either you're either Facebook or not Facebook. So it's a binary divide. So what we have done, we have to prove to them that the PLEN can be merged as one page, as my learning page in iGoogle, and the other page is my Facebook, so that they can go to iGoogle and go to log into either one of those or access both of those. Obviously, the PLEN also can be accessed using smartphone because it's Google Plus, and using smartphone, so they can read, they can respond, they can edit, they can create when they are traveling on a train or when they are on a bus or something like that. As for the benefits, as I said, I've derived a lot of benefits from it. I treat it as a very valuable repository because I learn a lot from it, in addition to interacting with the students and the graduates, because some of the students now have been already graduate. And I can treat it as a living repository. Now I'm teaching the subject second year, second time, right? I can go back to what were the things that were highlighted to me. What are some of the questions being asked? What are the things that I put out and the students mildly respond? That may be a sign of something, What are the topics that I've talked about? And in the PM, they have discussed it, hotly, right? Or in a very popular fashion. So that may be a sign that they like that topic or something that is more relevant to what they want to learn more and read more. So I can absorb from all that experience and make my teaching and also the PLEN, the content and the structure-wise, richer from year to year. Well, that's a lot about the PLEN in the educational sector, and I can try to reposition it for people in this audience, in your workplace. Perhaps you can also start about creating a PLEN for various departments, for various purposes. I mean, this doesn't matter and doesn't mean that it can only work in a university environment. It can work in any sort of environment. The thing that you need to change are the feeds the thing that you need to change, and obviously in a corporate environment, there wouldn't be students and teachers. Of course, you can have trainers and things like that, but it would be a different identity. So for example, it could be subject matter experts, it could be junior consultants, it could be senior consultants, it could be external advisors, it could be academic staff as well. So you can mix and match this group of people and bring in the PLEN to function so that you can continue to learn and collaborate across organizational boundaries. And the nice thing about the PLEN is, unless you deliberately put confidential or private information in there, there's nothing that is being private, because all the feeds were public, right? So unless you deliberately type something in there and share, so that's something that you need to think about, obviously. Now let me just wrap up and continue and just go back to that question that the smart student asked me. Professor, we start off with nothing. Now you have to cook up this storm, then we have more things to deal with, all right? And what we can do is indeed use RSS aggregators. I don't want to mention this all the time because this is obviously advanced Web 2.0, where you can actually use, most of those are free, but there are also some paid tools as well. You can actually control your feeds. Control your feeds, you can filter them. When you first select your feeds, you don't know how many of them how many articles are coming through. If it turns out to be many, you can actually mix and match. Okay, and I can also restrict it so that only show me the ones that are by these people, from this website, from these sources, and only list me the last 5 that were released in the last 2 days, right? So depending on how tight you set these filters, you can make the RSS articles coming through to be anything from any number to 0. If you set it to 0, you're just fooling yourself. So these tools exist. One of the most powerful one is Yahoo Pipes. So you might want to play around with that, but that is really not for beginners. That one is quite sophisticated. Okay, but there are other tools as well. Right? If you ever get a chance to pick up Prusek and Cranefield's book, we've got a chapter in there, but it's not in our chapter. Other authors are also pointing out that organizations increasingly need to spot for all these connectors. Connectors are people who are safeguarding the content and the quality. Connectors are people who facilitate, like in the PLEN, the quality of material, to bring them in and help with the facilitation and the moderation of the discussion. Now, earlier on I mentioned about cloud computing, right? So let me just finish off by drawing on the high benefits of operating the PLE on the cloud. The PLE is operating on Google Public Tools, so obviously that is in the cloud, right? The benefit is that I don't have to give the IT department a call at all, running 5 semesters, right? I don't need to care about how many students. When I bang together students from different groups, from 30 to 150 to 200, I don't need to give the IT department a call. The Google Cloud handles everything. Plus, it gives me the flexibility as well as the environment to explore the massive amount of data that is being generated as a result of all the students' discussions. I can examine the cross-fertilization, the influence of certain people, and so forth. So I thought it's a wonderful opportunity for universities and other entities to explore and exploit the benefit of the cloud, especially for learning and other purposes as well. Well, that's really a slide for my academic colleague, but anyway, I'll finish off here as well. And for those who are operating a corporate or an academic learning management system, I think there are challenges ahead for us to integrate personal learning environment into these LMS, because there are teething issues, not just IT integration issues, but issues about copyright, issues about how to make various applications and content interoperable, how to make sure that people's IC and IPs are continue to be protected, and how do you actually attribute the cost, and how do you actually divide and share, and how to fuse knowledge between the personal level and the corporate level as well. So these are non-trivial challenges that we have to face. So I'm from the KMIRC, again, at Hong Kong PolyU. For those of you who pass by in Asia, please drop by. We'll roll out the red carpet and invite you to visit our center, which we obviously can share a lot more. Thank you.